What's up, everybody in Buckeye Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Scarlet and Great. We are going to break down the Iowa game, and the Buckeyes continuing what I continue to call the incomplete domination tour, where these players, man, are so good they don't even have to show up for a full game, and they just blow the doors off the competition. Ohio State 35, Iowa 7. Real quick, favor for the video, comment where you're watching from. It's Monday morning. You guys are out here getting after it, so I just want to know where you guys watching from, how far our reach is, and how far Buckeye Nation expands. So if you can please comment your location, where are you watching from? I greatly appreciate it. Okay, Ohio State dominates Iowa 35-7, guys. I call this incomplete domination. Why? All these games, if you've been listening to this channel, this will sound familiar to you. If you're new here, cool, stick around. But I'm observing what I think most of you are observing, and that's, besides Western Michigan, and face it, the opponents have been vastly inferior so far. The last two games showing us something of a pulse. But in every game other than Western Michigan, even against these really poor teams, Ohio State just kind of sleepwalks. They kind of get going. They kind of make some dumb mistakes. They don't play with much fire, much energy. And then they kind of get tired of it. It takes them screwing up to get them to realize, oh, I better play hard. It seems like that week in and week out. And then when they play hard, oh my goodness. It just, I mean, this game was, what, 7-0 at halftime? You win the second half 28-7. You win the second half. Like, that's how halves are supposed to go against Iowa. Two complete halves against this team. You know, you're looking at a 50-7 type of performance, albeit with backups in and what have you. So Ohio State in each and every game just continues to come out and say, I know I'm better than this guy. Oh, I fumbled. Oh, I didn't complete a blocking assignment. And you know what? Then they get a little fired up and they really start putting screws to the team. Just overall, if you want to see, you know, some of it looks really good, some of it looks really bad. It's basically a point of the Buckeyes taking a full half off. You could probably say they took the first quarter and a half off, besides the touchdown drive. Maybe the first 2 quarters off. They took the last half of the fourth quarter off, just coasting. You know, maybe you get a hard quarter and a half, hard 2 quarters out of them. Passing yards don't look great. 209 for Will Howard. Will Howard continues to just kind of, again, he's JT Barrett. He's good enough. Can you win a title with him? I mean, you can win a title with Stetson Bennett, Carson Beck type quarterbacks. You can. J.J. McCarthy, who I don't even think really does much. He was a really good third down player. Other than that, I never watched him and said, oh man, I'm afraid of this guy. So in college football, when your program's built right, you can win with a Will Howard caliber player. Will is fairly accurate. He's not asked to do a ton. Under pressure, he makes some silly decision. He'll throw some picks. He laterally has some ability issues, but north and south's really good. And his accuracy in that short and intermediate game, which is Chip Kelly's world, is just fine. So he's good enough. Again, he's not going to set any records, but 209 yards doesn't help the, like, oh, I'm more than just an order taker on this offense campaign for Will Howard, right? Nah, looks like that's what you are, but you know what? He's good enough. He is good enough. He's not going to put the team on his back and win you any games, I don't think. Does he grow to? If he grows to that, this team's unstoppable. Rushing yards, 203 to 116. Doesn't look that one-sided, you know. And even when you go to yards per play, 4.7 to 6.3. The Buckeyes did really good at not allowing scores. They did really, you know, they allowed only 4.7 yards per play, which is not like they absolutely, you would think you give up a little more than 7 there, but forcing 5 punts, and, you know, 3 turnovers overall. So the Buckeye defense kind of just looked ho-hum, but they took the ball away. And that kind of mirrors the offense, right? Ho-hum, boom, we exploded. So you get, again, this is maybe 2 quarters of good football, and you win 35-7. And if I sound pessimistic, I don't think I'm being pessimistic. I'm kind of optimistic that the team can play one half of a game and win by 4 scores against a conference opponent. What were they favored by? 17, 20? You know, so they could beat the spread by a lot. Ohio State, a little more, breaking down the player stats. I want to roll into just how good the running backs were. It's a difficult balance in what play to call and when with these players. Quinshon Judkins had 13 carries for 78 yards. TreVeyon Henderson had 11 carries for 61 yards, averaging 5.5 and 6 yards a carry. I'm a little confused as sometimes why Quinshon gets the line. Like, Quinshon has the ability when the blocks are there to probably, I don't know if he's more of a home run threat than Trey, but he gets downhill quick. If the blocks aren't there, I prefer Trey carrying the ball. Again, this is a debate over great running backs. When it's just, hey, I need some yardage and there's not really anything there, I prefer Trey. Quinshon may be a little more of a battering ram, but Trey certainly doesn't shy away from contact that he needs. Interesting wrinkle here, neither running back saw the end zone. Will Howard scampered in. He had 28 yards carrying the ball, 10 rushes. You know, you count sacks as only 2.8 a carry. That's about as good as it's probably going to get in this offense. You don't want to take too many touches away from these great players. Jeremiah Smith had a nice rush for 14 yards. Receiving, Jeremiah Smith, again, this is funny. He led the team in yardage. He had less than half the receptions of Emeka Egbuka. Emeka Egbuka had 9 receptions. Jeremiah had 4. Jeremiah had 81 yards and a touchdown, averaging 22 yards a catch. Emeka Egbuka averaging 71 yards, totaled 71 yards, but 3 big scores. And then the third receiver on the board without any action from Carnell Tate, Brandon Ennis stepped up and got 3 catches for 29 yards. So overall, nothing just screams at you from this stats line. The only thing I will say is, again, it would sound great if it was a quarter of play. It will sound if we're half of play. So what goes with that is Ohio State's team defense was actually really good at creating. Allowing 110 passing yards and 116 rushing yards, that's phenomenal. But what's even better is you kept the ball away from them. Their yards per play was pretty good. They didn't get that many play. Or pretty good, I'd say. It was better than I would think, an Iowa offense. But the defense just continued to, if they were allowing yardage, they'd take the ball away. If they weren't taking the ball away, they were stuffing the line of scrimmage really intensely. So you have this dynamic with the defense. This is Ohio State in a nutshell. Our players are so good. Yeah, we haven't figured out exactly what the identity of the team on either side of the ball is, but the team is so good that there's 1,000 different ways to beat you, right? You are truly facing a cyborg in this team. I don't know if Trey is going to go for 200 yards. I don't know if Quinshon's going to rip off 290. I don't know if J.J. Smith is going to go for 17 catches and 400 yards, or maybe Emeka does that, right? Maybe Will Howard throws for 100 and rushes for 150, and you lose by 30 to him. Right? Maybe the defense bends but don't break all the way to it, and they allow 4 field goals and no touchdowns, and you're stuck with 12 points while they put up 40. Maybe the defense allowed you to march up and down the field and just took the ball away from you a bunch. I don't know. Like, you really don't know what it's going to look like week to week. But the fact is, they continue to win big because their players are that good, right? It's a chameleon of a team, and I don't think it's necessarily by design. I think it's just I think players can feel it. You know when you're out there with another athlete, if you just completely have outclassed them. I think the players can feel it, so they kind of pull back a little. But when they're fired up and they let loose and they send that statement, no, you guys weren't good enough to play within 7 points of us, sorry, and they just blow the doors off. So that's what you're going to get with this team. I enjoy the talent. This is the first year I've looked and the talent is 1,000% as advertised. It's just insanely good. I will say the low spot on the team, I think, is Donovan Jackson and the offensive line. They're going to have Donovan Jackson's going to screw up enough or just not play well enough to keep things closer than they should be. Will Howard's not good enough to overcome Jackson. So that's going to cause some wrinkles in the game. When you play really good teams, it's going to keep you down to like that 28 to 35 point range probably. That's fine. You can still win with that. I mean, it scored 35 against Iowa with not great players but a sharp defense. Playing only half of football. But if you're playing Alabama, Georgia, that's going to rear its ugly head. Even Michigan later. Michigan's going to be up for that game. Oregon coming up. So this is what you also have to look forward to, is the defense is going to do a little bit of the same. They can take it from you anytime they want. They just don't always seem to want it. So the question remains, so how does Ohio State stack up? Given that we've seen they're a chameleon, given that we've seen they take time off, and given that we've seen they're immensely talented, how do they stack up to the rest of the country? The good news is Georgia's incomplete. Bama's incomplete, as we just saw. That the study hall nerds took them out. You know, Texas, I don't know if they're super complete. We'll have to watch them more. But a lot of teams are just not, you know, Tennessee just took an L, so they're incomplete. A lot of teams are still working through their bugs. The good news about Ohio State is that puts them on level playing field, but they're just as talented, if not probably more talented than, I'll go ahead and say, anybody. So if they just play 5 or 10 snaps harder than the team across from them, if they meet their intensity and beat it 5 or 10 snaps, they're probably going to beat anybody in the country. They're at least on the field with anybody in the country. This gives me a lot of hope that the team can peak at the right time because, listen, there's a lot of new faces. Trey's not new, but he's new playing with Quinshon. Quinshon's new. Will's new. Seth McLaughlin's new. Seth's new to play. Donnie's not new, but he's playing next to a new guy in Seth, right? Carnell Tate's not new, but he's a new starter. Jeremiah Smith's new. Emeka's new to playing with Smith, and he's new to starting with Tate, right? This is Cody Simon's first year starting. This is Sonny Styles' first year at linebacker. So even though there's a lot of familiar faces, the team structure and makeup and dynamic is very, very new. So that means you just get a little more of a nugget each week of growth. And that does lead to the Buckeyes peaking at the right time. So I'll recap with this. The Buckeyes, they take a lot of plays off. Sometimes they take a whole quarter off. They're still good enough to dominate the opponent. And I like them against anybody in the country. Come back and see us next time. Please subscribe to the channel. Let's get another 100 subs by the Oregon game. We're going to release another video here in a couple days laughing at LOL Michigan. Come back and see us next time. Goodbye. God bless. And go Bucks.